On March 30th, 2025, while Turkey celebrated the beginning of Ramadan, a tragedy shook the city of Nazilli in Aydın province. Büşra Cin, a 24-year-old university student, was found dead with a gunshot wound to the chest at the home of her boyfriend, Özkan Korkmaz. Covered with a duvet and curled up in a fetal position, as if trying to protect herself, Büşra became yet another victim of the violence that haunts women in Turkey. Özcan, the prime suspect, claimed he was innocent, but the evidence tells a different story. The crime, which took place during a sacred holiday, reignited debates about justice, violence, and the disturbing public fascination with the accused. Büşra Cin was 24 years old and in her final year of international relations at Adnan Menderes University in Aydın. Originally from Gaziantep, over 1,000 miles from Nazilli, she was described as an intelligent and reserved young woman. According to sources, Büşra came from a traditional family, where religious and cultural values shaped everyday life. Despite her young age, she managed to balance her studies with the challenges of living far from home in a university town. In the only widely shared photo, published by a Turkish news outlet, we see a young woman with expressive eyes and a faint smile. Few public images of her exist, reflecting both the grieving family's desire for privacy and perhaps Büşra's own low-profile personality. But her story, as a student with dreams and plans, is what deserves to be remembered. Büşra had been in a relationship with Özkan Korkmaz, a 29-year-old electrician, for about a year. There were no known reports of serious issues between them prior to March 2025, but as we'll see, tensions were about to surface. On Friday, March 28, 2025, Büşra Cin left the Adnan Menderes University campus and took a bus to Nazilli, about 40 kilometers from Aydın. Her destination was 255th Street in the Karaköy neighborhood, where her boyfriend Özkan Korkmaz lived. According to sources, Büşra was visiting Özkan, something she had done several times before. It was the eve of Ramadan, a time of fasting, prayer, and reflection for Muslims, including Büşra and her family back in Gaziantep. There are no clear details about what happened that Friday, but everything seemed normal. Büşra likely planned to spend the weekend with Özkan before the beginning of Ramadan celebrations. No one could have predicted that, within 48 hours, her life would come to a tragic end. On Saturday, March 29th, something changed inside Özkan's apartment. According to sources, an argument broke out between Büşra and Özcan that night. The exact reason remains unclear, but neighbors interviewed by the police reported hearing shouting. A disturbing detail soon emerged. The fight may have been triggered by a suspected pregnancy that Büşra had chosen to terminate because she didn't want to become a mother so young. In Turkey, abortion has been legal up to the 10th week of pregnancy since 1983, but in conservative cities like Gaziantep, Büşra's hometown, the topic remains taboo, especially for unmarried women. Sources claim Büşra opted for the procedure to prevent her family from finding out about a pregnancy outside of marriage, which could be seen as a source of shame in her community. Neighbors said Özkan confronted Büşra about taking away their child, which may have escalated the conflict. At some point that night, things spiraled out of control. According to his initial statement to police, Özkan claimed he left the house after the argument, leaving Büşra alone. In his words, he said, "We had a fight that night, then I left. I don't know what happened after that." But as we'll see, that version didn't convince the authorities. On the morning of Sunday, March 30th, around 7 a.m., Özkan Korkmaz called the Nazilli police. In the call, he claimed to have found his girlfriend motionless and covered in blood in bed. It was the first day of Ramadan, a moment of celebration for millions of Turks. But inside that apartment, the scene was pure horror. Nazilli District Police and a medical team quickly arrived at 255th Street. Upon entering the bedroom, they found Büşra Cin dead, with a single gunshot wound to the chest. Her body was curled in a fetal position, covered by a duvet, as if she had tried to shield herself. That posture suggested a moment of sheer desperation. Her body was taken to the Adnan Menderes University Forensic Medicine Institute for autopsy. At first, police considered the possibility that Büşra had taken her own life, but there was one glaring issue. The weapon was missing. If she had pulled the trigger herself, the pistol would have been near the body. Özkan, still at the scene, was immediately questioned. He repeated the same story. After the argument, he left the apartment, and when he returned in the morning, Büşra was already dead. But inconsistencies in his statement raised red flags. On the night of March 30th, as news of Büşra's death began to spread, Özkan Korkmaz was taken into custody as the prime suspect. Police had found too many holes in his version of events. During a second search of the apartment, investigators made a crucial discovery. The pistol used in the crime was hidden under the bed. The weapon belonged to Özkan and was sent for analysis to determine whether Büşra's fingerprints were on it. Neighbors confirmed to police that the argument the night before involved shouting about a supposed terminated pregnancy. Police believe that if Özkan is indeed responsible for the crime, this may have been the motive. In early April, Büşra's autopsy was completed. The report confirmed the cause of death as a single gunshot to the chest, likely at close range, pointing to an intentional act. It also confirmed that Büşra had indeed been pregnant recently. There were no signs of a prolonged struggle, but the fetal position of her body suggested she tried to shield herself at the moment of the shot. Büşra's body was then sent to Gaziantep, her hometown. In the Sahibe district, a funeral prayer was held at a local mosque, followed by her burial. Hundreds of relatives and friends attended in a deeply emotional atmosphere. The devastated family demanded justice, while the Gaziantep community mourned the loss of a promising young woman. The lack of public photos of Büşra, aside from one image released by the media, drew attention. As previously reported, this may reflect the family's desire to protect their privacy or Büşra's own reserved nature, as she didn't share much of her life on social media. The Nazilli District Police, led by the Homicide Department, intensified the investigation. Özkan stuck to his original version. He left after the argument and returned to find Büşra dead. The pistol hidden under the bed belonged to him, and the position of Büşra's body suggested she was caught off guard. Since he failed to mention the weapon in his initial statement, police concluded that he had tried to cover up the crime. Neighbor testimony was key. They heard Özkan yelling about his girlfriend's terminated pregnancy, something that may have triggered his rage. Investigators believe Büşra, coming from a conservative family, chose to undergo the procedure to protect her reputation, but this decision seems to have led to a fatal confrontation with Özkan. Police are now reviewing security camera footage and Özkan's phone data to reconstruct the timeline and better understand how everything unfolded. While the victim's family mourned her loss, a disturbing controversy erupted on social media. Özkan Korkmaz's Instagram account, still active after his arrest, drew disturbing comments. Many focused on his appearance. Women wrote things like, "Can we visit him in prison? It's a shame someone so handsome is rotten inside." And wow, what a waste of a good-looking guy. One comment even claimed he should be released because he was too handsome to be in prison. These posts outraged both activists and Büşra's grieving family. This fascination with a criminal's appearance isn't new. Cases like Ted Bundy's in the U.S. have shown how a suspect's looks can dangerously shift public focus away from the victim. In Turkey, where violence against women is a national crisis, such remarks were seen as a slap in the face. In contrast, messages of support for Büşra and her family also began to circulate. On Instagram, news pages shared her photo and called for justice. But the lack of more public images of her, as previously mentioned, highlighted the disturbing contrast. While the victim is erased, the suspect is glamorized. According to her family, Büşra dreamed of graduating in international relations, a dream she was close to fulfilling in her final year of college. Her family now demands justice, while Nazilli police continue their efforts to uncover the full truth. But what about you? Do you think Özkan really took Büşra's life, or is he innocent? Share your opinion in the comments below.